A software project is 6 months behind schedule. The project manager's immediate instinct is to force more developers into the mix to speed it up. Or consider a couple trapped in a failing relationship. They read stacks of communication books, yet they keep having the exact same toxic arguments week after week. These reactions make perfect sense on paper, but they fail entirely because they unknowingly violate a hidden set of rules governing how complex systems operate. When faced with a crisis, human instinct pushes us toward the easiest, most superficial additions, blinding us to the actual mechanical problems holding the system back. Search for an explanation for this blind spot, and you will eventually encounter Wilson's law. The name describes a collection of distinct principles rather than a single theory. There is a Wilson's equation in chemical thermodynamics, a Wilson's theorem in pure mathematics, a Wilson doctrine in UK constitutional law, and an ecological model from Harvard biologist E.O. Wilson. Why do all these completely unrelated academic disciplines end up warning against the exact same human mistake? Whether they are mapping molecules, writing legislation, or observing behavior, every one of these principles reveals the danger of ignoring deep structural mechanics in favor of surface-level metrics. The first major trap is known as Wilson's law of metric bias. It dictates that humans naturally prioritize easily measurable data over what truly matters. Imagine a warehouse manager who decides to evaluate their entire operation using a single quantifiable number, daily shipping speed. The shipping numbers will quickly look fantastic on a spreadsheet. But out on the floor, fragile packages are damaged at record rates, and employee burnout skyrockets because qualitative value is completely ignored. When things do start falling apart, our next instinct is to add more resources. In project management, this is recognized as the manpower paradox. Adding extra people to a delayed project creates exponential communication breakdowns. Instead of dividing the workload smoothly, it functions exactly like throwing 10 cooks into a small, crowded kitchen. This habit of destructive overcompensation is so pervasive that it plagues clinical medicine, where it was formally documented as Wilson's law of diminishing returns. Dr. McClure Wilson warned against radiologic overkill. He noticed doctors ordered endless medical imaging out of fear rather than necessity. His paper used a blunt metaphor. The more times you run over a dead cat, the flatter it gets. Redundant tests offer zero new clarity. More data, more tests, and more people do not automatically yield a better result. They often just confirm the obvious while bleeding the system dry at a massive operational cost. This brings us to the ultimate behavioral trap, Wilson's law of system structure. It dictates that if you put new information into a system but do not change the structure, the behavior stays exactly the same. Take a corporate environment where two departments are physically separated on different floors, and their compensation models force them to compete for the same bonus pool. Management might try to resolve the resulting hostility by sending everyone to a communication seminar. But teaching them new skills is just an injection of information. The chronic conflicts will persist. To actually fix the friction, you have to execute physical interventions. You have to merge their budgets, tear down the walls separating their desks, or completely rewrite their financial incentives. Information and education are merely temporary software patches. Permanent behavioral change demands redesigning the hard, physical architecture of the environment itself. The dominance of structural mechanics over superficial inputs extends beyond human psychology and into the rigid laws of nature. Consider the ecological models of Harvard biologist E.O. Wilson. He proved that an island's physical size rigidly caps the number of species that can survive there. It doesn't matter how many new animals wash ashore. The environment's strict boundaries dictate the outcome. You see the exact same mechanic in Grant Wilson's equations for thermodynamics. How two non-ideal liquids mix isn't determined simply by the raw volume you pour into a beaker, but entirely by the deep intermolecular structures at play. Across the entire universe, from chemical mixtures in a laboratory to insect colonies in a dense forest, structural mechanics consistently override superficial additive inputs. This same structural logic dictates our personal trajectories. Financial success is a lagging indicator, a metric that only follows once we have built a structural foundation of deep, specialized talent. The traps repeat themselves endlessly. We chase isolated members, throw extra bodies into chaos, and substitute advice for real action. So the next time you face a massive, seemingly unsolvable problem, stop asking what new thing you can measure or who else you can add to the room. Start asking what underlying structure must be destroyed and rebuilt.